welcome back to Live at FDIC. My name is Chris McClune, and you are watching us. We are in the Firehouse Subs podcast studio here at FDIC International 2025. First of all, this podcast is brought to you by Firehouse Subs, the firefighter-founded hot sub chain with a passion for hearty and flavorful food, heartfelt service, and public safety. Ready for your next mission? Firehouse Subs is offering firefighters the opportunity to continue serving after service now as restaurant owners. Learn more at www.firehousesubsfranchising.com. Well, this is only our second podcast of the week here at FDIC, so we're really getting into the swing of things here. My guest here is retired Chief Eddie Buchanan, and he is representing Deccan. And we're going to learn about Deccan today. We're going to talk about some of the products that it offers, some of how it can help fire chiefs in the field manage their fleets and manage all the other information that fire EMS chiefs have to do. So, Eddie, could you please first talk to me about what Deccan is and how it came into existence?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Chris. It's good to be back at FDIC and the podcast booth. Man, this is great. Deccan has been around for about 25 years now, and it was born out of Washington, D.C. So our founder was a data scientist who worked with D.C. Fire, and he created some predictive algorithms that really kind of were way ahead of their time, you know, I think 25 years ago, that they could predict how their fire department would respond in different scenarios, right? So they took that predictive analytic engine and built it into an application that they call Atom. He presented that to the Metro Chiefs Conference, and once the Metro Chiefs saw that, you know, lots of fireworks, and that's when the company was born. So now we're spread out, started out DC Fire. We have a lot of the major metropolitan departments we work with in the United States. We're also very widespread in Canada, and we have some of our biggest deployments are actually in Australia. Okay. So we work with Queensland Ambulance Service, for example. That's a statewide deployment where we cover, when you look at Queensland and New South Wales, that's like the equivalent in geography of like the East Coast, you know, the U.S. So it's a very interesting company. Our wheelhouse really is decision support for fire chiefs. When you're standing at the podium, you know, in the boardroom or in front of your elected officials, you want to have the best data you can possibly have, and that's really what Deccan does.
Data has been really talked about in recent years. I would say probably in the last 10 to 15 years. I mean, it's really, really big right now. Yeah. Because we're using it for everything, whether it comes to, you know, even just building your apparatus and stuff like that. You know, we're using that data. I know that's not exactly what we're talking about here, but I'm just trying to stress just the importance of data these days and all of the different tools that we have to track it. You know, one of the things that Deccan is helping with is the what if and the what is. Yes. And I think that's where the chief standing in front of the podium, you know, kind of comes into play. And, you know, the structure of this question was, you know, how does Deccan help the chief at the podium? But I also was wondering if that also is not only at the podium for maybe talking about an incident, but also in trying to justify purchases and things like that. Sure. So how can the Deccan team help fire chiefs when they stand at the podium before their council, their mayor, or board of commissioners, or whatever? Well,
I'll take it even further than that. We're trying to help the fire chiefs when they're standing at the podium, when they're asking for resources, and you're competing for resources against other parts of local government, you know. So you want to have the best data possible there, but I'll take that even further. I like to make it tactical. Why does the firefighter care about data? And when you look at things like here at FDIC, we've seen a lot of research. There are guys that they're teaching right now on the things we've learned from fire dynamics. We've learned the importance of how much time plays a role in, you know, speed is an important factor, getting the tactics right tactics at the right time as soon as possible. How can I put a firefighter on the front porch a few seconds faster? That's an important piece of this. You know, if I can get them 15 seconds sooner, we have learned from the search and rescue research that can save a life. So I can't drive any faster, right? I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to get a lot more resources than we already have. I mean, the idea that there's going to be some, grand funding of something, that's just not going to happen. So we have to find ways to be more efficient and use the resources we already have better. So how can I shave 15 seconds off your response time? And we do that in a couple of ways. Partly through our strategic planning types of tools. We call it ADAM, Apparatus Deployment Analysis Module. That is where we're going to look at placing resources in the best possible place. We do a thing we call optimize on current resources. So you have X amount of stations and you have X amount of fire trucks in those stations. Are they in the right place? Mm-hmm. Could we optimize a little bit better? Maybe I could find 10 seconds on average or 15 seconds on average and improve response time. We can find that in your data. And then we use another application we call Live MUM. It's Live Move Up Module. It's what that's basically doing is listening to the CAD in real time. It's analyzing second by second what's going on in the community, what's likely to happen next. It uses a predictive algorithm to forecast where the next call is going to be. And it's going to move units around, give the commander the recommendations of where's the best place to put stuff right now based on what's happening. And that really does make a difference because, we're looking at, I call it our batting average. If we've moved the unit, it should catch a call, right? If I moved it to another station, it didn't catch a run, what did we do? We just wasted fuel, right? So we're looking at accuracy, and we're seeing things like 80% of the time they're catching a run. That's remarkable, right? You're, as one of our chiefs that uses that particular application, he goes, it's like you were on the way to the call before you knew what happened, right? So these are things that we can do to really make that difference, not only to back up the chief when he's showing this data in the boardroom, that's certainly part of it, but also want to get the firefighter on their front porch as fast as I possibly can so they can save that life. And that's really why I get excited about the data analytics, because like I said, it's the only place we have left to really make improvements. We're not going to drive faster. We're not going to get a whole lot more money. We're going to have to do the best with what we got. So, through data analytics is how we do that.
How hard a sell has that been? I mean, I'm saying, like I just said a minute ago, we've been talking about data a lot, data, but it's still, at least to me, a little bit of a hard sell. I don't know what your experience has been with that. How hard of a sell is that to get firefighters, the rank and file on board with the data collection that we're doing?
I have found that when a firefighter can see the connection between the data we ask them to collect and it meaning something, like if one of my friends down in Greensboro, North Carolina, the fire department down there, their analyst Nick, he had a great way of saying it, that if I can see when I hit this date, when I collect this data point, whatever it is, in my RMS or however they're doing it, when I see that effect have an outcome that I can see, tangibly see it, they're all about collecting data. I think it's a myth that firefighters don't like to collect data. That's not true. They like to collect data when it matters. What firefighters don't like is to waste time. That's what they don't like. So you want to make sure you're connecting your data collection and how you present that whole world of data. It has to mean something. It's not just this random stuff. So when you have that disconnect, yeah, they're not going to be excited about it. But when you can show them how it makes a difference, that by collecting this data, and we're going to see that with things like Nearest coming online, where we're actually starting to collect data beyond the air brake, which is one of my kind of passionate thing. I'm passionate about that. If you looked at the data we collect today, you'd think we were a NASCAR team because all we do is drive fast somewhere, right? We pull up, we mark on scene, and the clock stops. We stop measuring stuff. So we're just starting to go to work, man. There's all kinds of stuff to learn beyond the air brake. And like the data schema in NARIS will give us the ability to collect some of that. We'll be able to look and see what is good when it comes to initiating a fire stream. How long should that take? What's the average in your fire department? How do you know if you're good or not? What do you compare it to? We don't know. So there's so much more. I think the fire service over the next 10 years, as we look at data, we look at technology, we look at the ability to integrate those things. Your fire apparatus has all kinds of data in it, right? Your SCBA has all kinds of data in it. Location, firefighter location, biometrics, all these things, as they come together and you give it to a company like us where we can actually analyze that data, we can put that data to work, we're going to learn a lot over the next 10 years. It'll be like a revolution of data, 10 years from now and how we operate.
It's interesting to me the way you just explained that, because we were having this conversation about, when we talk about data, we're often talking about technology and how firefighters sometimes are slower to adapt new technology, except when it is obvious how it's going. So we use the example of the thermal imaging camera.
Right.
That was very obvious. The main barrier in the beginning to that, I think, was more cost than the actual usefulness of the tool.
It was this big thing you had to wear on your head.
Yeah. So it's interesting the way you said, like, if we can show it, it's usually readily accepted. So, but we only have a few more minutes, Chief. But just talk to me real quick about deployment of these different modules that you have. What does a fire department need to do to start putting something like this into effect?
We're going to look at a couple of years of historical data. So we would connect to your RMS or to your CAD. We have the APIs for that, the ways to integrate those data sources. We take that into our system, and then we run our analytics on our side, right? So we're looking at a couple of years of historical data. We don't usually go beyond about 2 years because the community's changed so much. When you're looking at 5 years ago, that's not really what's happening today. So we try to keep it current and relevant in our analysis. And our data scientists that work for us, that are on staff, by the way. It's nice to have PhDs in the back room, They're able to work with that data and produce something very usable for the for the fire chief, right? So they get kind of presentation-ready outputs, which is really a key part of that.
My last one for you before we talk about how to get more information was, if there was one takeaway you would like the audience today to walk away with and be thinking about after this, what would that be?
I think the technology has evolved to the point now where it's affordable for every fire department. It used to be very expensive to do what we do. We've gone to the cloud now, and by going to the cloud, the cost came way down. I think whether you're one fire station fire department or 50, it's accessible to everyone now, which I think is a great improvement over the last couple of years. So that would be my takeaway. You can afford it.
Well, if anyone wants to learn more information about Deccan, how can they get in touch with you, or just get more information about the company in general and its products?
Just go to our website. We're on all the socials. You can find us Deccan International. The website is deccanintl.com. And certainly reach out, and even if you have questions, always happy to discuss and share what we've got.
All right, great. Well, Chief, my thanks to you again for sitting down with me for a few minutes today to help us learn more about Deccan. Again, this has been Chris McClune for Live at FDIC, along with Chief Eddie Buchanan here. We of course would like to thank Firehouse Subs again for sponsoring our studio this week. Have a good one, everybody, and stay safe.